This week on The Watchman, in just 71 years, the reborn nation of Israel has overcome every obstacle to become a world leader in medical, high-tech, and scientific breakthroughs. See how the eternal capital of Israel, Jerusalem, is at the center of it all.
Jerusalem's so special because when you do something in Jerusalem, it's like magnified. Everyone's looking at you, and that's why I feel like it's so. Everything we do here is so important.
Plus, learn how one groundbreaking Israeli company is bringing sight to the blind, and how an Auschwitz survivor went from tragedy to triumph. It's all this week, only right here on The Watchman. And welcome to The Watchman from Jerusalem. This city today is the heartbeat of Israel, just as it was during the times of the Bible. Jerusalem is vibrant, diverse, fast-paced. It's home to the Israeli government, to incredible history, food, and culture, and a booming high-tech scene that we'll show you a bit later. But above all, Jerusalem is holy. It's the city where God Almighty says He has written His name forever, and that He is given to the Jewish people as their one and only ancient and ancestral capital. Jerusalem today is breaking tourism records. Every day, more and more believers are drawn here. Folks, great things are happening in God's city. And yet, just 75 years ago, all of this seemed impossible. Just ask Irving Roth. In 1945, he was a starving boy imprisoned in the hellish confines of the Auschwitz death camp. Jerusalem must have seemed completely unreachable then, like some distant dream. Yet Irving survived Auschwitz and has gone on to become one of Israel and Jerusalem's most eloquent and courageous advocates. His story is a miracle from tragedy to triumph, and he shared it with us recently at the very scene of his greatest hardship, Auschwitz-Birkenau. We're at a very significant place. This is one of the actual cattle cars that were used to bring prisoners, Jewish prisoners, here to Auschwitz. You were in one of these cattle cars. Can you tell us about that experience, which was a pretty horrible one?
It is, because I was a relatively short period of time, 3 days and 3 nights. And of course, there are no place to sit. Not enough room for all the people that were in there, probably 100 people, not enough room.
In this little cattle car, one of these?
Yes.
100 people?
Not enough for everybody to sit. So some of the people had to stand and some sit, alternating. The other piece, of course, 3 days, you have bodily functions. There are no toilets here, there is no running water.
Were there any stops so you could relieve yourself?
Well, what we did is relieve ourselves inside. We had 2 buckets, one to relieve yourself and one for fresh water. And every so often we were allowed to, they would open up the door just enough not to break the seal, but be able to get rid of the refuse and maybe get some water.
And they're barking at you the whole time.
Constantly. There was constantly harassment, really. Yeah. Eventually, I was assigned to work with horses, work horses, and the job that I had was to drain the swamps and plow the fields afterwards so new arable land could be created. And that's what I did, which in itself was very hard work from early morning to late at night. The disadvantage was that the hours were longer. The way it worked is you had to put in from, let's say, 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night to actually plow the fields. But the horses are in pasture during the night. You have to get them, you have to bring them, you have to feed them, you have to clean them and all this other stuff. So the day was longer, but the advantage was that on occasion you were able to supplement your diet, which consists of basically of a black, I was going to say coffee, because Starbucks would be very upset if I call that coffee, in the morning. And that was the breakfast. At noon, generally, it was soup, mostly cabbage. And at night, we would get some bread, consisting really of something which is about equivalent of 3 or 4 slices of bread.
I can't imagine how much weight you lost being here, obviously.
That's pretty much what happened, of course. But it was calculated that a diet of that nature, which is a couple of 300 calories a day.
300 calories per day.
Yeah, a human body can subsist on the reserve. So they had something called selections. Just like the first, when you arrived here, there was a selection. 90% to the gas chamber and 10% or 15% to work.
You were young and healthy?
I was young, healthy, I was about as tall as I am now, but they had additional selections. And the way that worked, you would come back from work, march directly to take a shower, you would get undressed and march into the shower. And while you were marching to the shower, there'd be on the side a doctor in uniform and look at you for an instant of time and determine if you should continue to live. He would look at the number. If you wrote down your number, next morning you were in the gas chamber.
Like that. This man, this Nazi doctor had the power of life and death.
That's correct. That's correct. But of course, the war is going on. By now it's January of 1945. The Russian army is getting closer. And that definitely portends to maybe. Unfortunately, on the 18th of January, the still living, or existing, I should say, or breathing, about 60,000 prisoners are still alive. And we marched out on a death march.
So you were marched out?
Marched
in
out.
the middle of winter with barely any clothes and no food or water.
And wooden clogs. And for 3 days, and partially 3 nights, we marched under guard. Hundreds and thousands of people were shot on the way because they set the pace. Now the guards marched with us for 2 hours, and for 4 hours they would ride. We marched continuously. So people would stop, slow down, and the reason it's called a death march is because if you didn't continue marching at the pace they set, you were dead.
People were dropping left and right and being shot constantly.
Absolutely, and you can imagine, here I am tired and hungry and cold, and I would complain to my brother who's marching beside me. And of course his comment was always, don't concentrate on physical things. Be more spiritual. I'm hungry. He would say, why don't you say a psalm? I didn't know them by heart. My brother did. And in fact, I would repeat after him, and in many ways I could say it helped the body forget the physical pain and continue marching. And finally, after 3 days, we were put into open cars in the middle of the winter, and finally we arrived in a new place called Buchenwald. Now, Buchenwald was a concentration camp built in 1937 for 5,000 prisoners. When I arrived there were close to 60,000. Same facilities, more or less, and the same amount of food. So here, it was different. If you got a boiled potato every second or third day, you were a very lucky person. And one day my brother was taken away. I'm alone. I'm put into a barracks with young people, 15, 16-year-olds. It is now April of 1945.
The war's winding down.
Exactly. And they begin the death marches again. Not from Buchenwald, someplace else. I realized 2 things. One is, I know about death marches. It means death. Second thing is, by this time I lost much more weight. And I'm much weaker. So I kept hiding, and every day. By the 10th of April, I'm hiding with some other young people in a crawl space under a building. A guard comes along with a dog, finds us, marches us out. And now I know that I'm in bad trouble. Depending how long it lasts, I probably will not make it. Providence As we're standing in front of the gate and the guards are ready to march us out, the siren goes off, there's an air raid, American airplanes, all day long, and I survive another day. By next morning, 11 o'clock, the guards from the towers disappeared. All people in uniform disappeared.
Your tormentors.
And 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 American soldiers walked into our barracks. The way I see it, the Messiah just arrived. There are 2 of them. One was black and one was white.
Wow.
They broke down when they saw in this barracks about 300 skeletons shuffling. And they began to rehabilitate our physical bodies. And they took us out of there, the kids particularly, and began to feed us, give us new clothing, and all the wonderful stuff. And the war is over.
Thanks again to our dear friend Irving Roth for sharing his inspiring and miraculous story. The people of Israel live. And after the break, you'll see how they're changing the world one startup at a time from right here in Jerusalem. Stick around.
From terrorists who would annihilate her with bombs and bullets, to so-called activists that would eliminate her with boycotts and sanctions, Israel's enemies are on the march. In Why Israel, you will learn how to be an active defender of the Jewish state, knowledgeable and powerful as you stand up for truth. You'll receive the biblical evidence proving Israel's special place in God's plan. Learn how his steadfast commitment to his people is a matter of fact, not opinion. From its miraculous rebirth as a modern state to the dangerous threats it presently faces, Israel's inspiring journey is laid out in this short booklet. Supporting Israel is a biblical mandate for all Christians. In Why Israel, you will discover why you should care about the Jewish state and what you can do to stand with God's chosen people.
And welcome back to The Watchman from Jerusalem. We told you earlier how this city is becoming a center of groundbreaking high-tech and innovation. Well, a great organization called Made in JLM is at the center of it, and they're helping Jerusalem change the world one startup at a time. Take a look.
Well, Rachel, when people think of Jerusalem, a lot of times they think of ancient Jerusalem. The Jewish people were here thousands of years old. These are ancient rocks. But there's some new and exciting things happening here as well. Tell us about Made in JLM and what you're doing.
We're a non-profit organization, and we were established in 2012 in order to specifically build the Jerusalem tech and startup ecosystem. So really from the late 90s to 2012, 7 years ago, apart from, ironically, a couple of really big companies such as Mobileye and NDS, which was a cyber company that were growing, there wasn't much of a smaller startup ecosystem. There were only about 100 startups in the city. So in 2012, a few people, Neil Barkat was one of them, said, let's do something about this. Let's make Jerusalem better economically, better for startups. And so that's one of the reasons why we established Made in JLM, in order to kind of help the startups grow and connect the dots within the ecosystem. We already kind of had an ecosystem here. We have great research from the university. We had some successful startups. We had some events, but what we did was we connected everyone. That's what we are. We're kind of a platform that connects the dots. We specifically bring hundreds of groups here, and in the morning they'll go and see the old city. In the afternoon they'll come and see startups and hear about what's been going on in the tech scene. And it's really becoming something that everyone does now when they come here. They don't just go to Tel Aviv and to the north of Israel and the south to see startups, but they'll also come to Jerusalem, and that's why it really is all in all a startup nation.
That's so cool, because people can come here and they can feel the history of their faith, the history of Jerusalem, which is the history of the world in many ways. But you can also look ahead when you come here and see these exciting things. Jerusalem's always been an innovative place, going back 3,000 years to the times of the first temple. So it must be fun to show people that, hey, Jerusalem is kind of setting the standard once again. This is the place to be.
I always say that Jerusalem is really, it's like a light unto the nations. It's written in the Bible. That's what I feel like the innovative side of Israel, and specifically Jerusalem, is. We're showing everyone how we want to help people, Orcam, all these different companies. It's not just about making money. It's also about inspiring others and really being a light unto the nations.
Yeah, Rachel, that's the thing that strikes me. All of these ventures you're talking about, they're all looking to help other people. They're all based on humanitarian work and helping others. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's something, Jerusalem is a very social city. You know, I'm working in a nonprofit. There's so many nonprofits here. We have specifically programs to help nonprofits with the technological platforms. And I think that's also just the Jerusalem kind of secret sauce is this very helpful kind of atmosphere. So something that we always talk about is filgun. It comes from a Hebrew word lefalgen, which is to give someone kind of compliment without expecting something in return. And we even have a day called International Filgun Day in Jerusalem that we created, where every year everyone goes online, gives someone else a compliment, and that's something that's very specific in the Jerusalem tech community, is that we all kind of want to help one another and don't expect anything in return, this essence of filgun, and that's something that's very kind of Jerusalemite. Yeah. Someone actually said to me she came from Facebook to visit the country, and she said that, you know, Jerusalem's so special because when you do something in Jerusalem, it's like magnified. Everyone's looking at you, and that's why I feel like everything we do here is so important, and everyone looks at it and everyone takes inspiration from it, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing and helping the ecosystem here.
Up next, more incredible Israeli innovation. See how one Israeli company right here in Jerusalem is helping to bring sight to the blind. Folks, this is an amazing story. Don't move.
Over the past 2 years, 30 nations have been represented at the annual Christians United for Israel Summit in Washington, D.C. Israel supporters from across the globe joined CUFI in standing in solidarity with the state of Israel and the Jewish people. They celebrated and rejoiced at the Night to Honor Israel. And some have requested that their countries follow America's lead and move their embassies to Jerusalem, the eternal, undivided capital of Israel. Now, with over 7 million active members, CUFI is the largest, most ethnically diverse pro-Israel organization in the U.S. As we, along with CUFI UK and CUFI Canada, expand our reach into other regions, including Brazil, we are excited about the future of this movement for such a time as this. For Zion's sake, we will not be silent. From all over the world, from every nation, we are CUFI.
Welcome back to The Watchman, and welcome back to Jerusalem. What if I told you that there was an amazing new device that is helping to bring sight to the blind? And what if I told you that this groundbreaking technology is made right here in Israel? Get ready to witness the life-changing power of Israeli innovation.
What I have in my hand, what I'm holding here, is called the Orcam MyEye 2 artificial vision device. This is the world's most advanced wearable assistive technology device for people who are blind, who are visually impaired, or have reading difficulties. With this device, a great deal of independence is returned to the lives of our users. What this device can do is instantly communicate all sorts of visual information by audio, such as text, faces, colors, money notes, and products. The World Health Organization estimates about 350 million people in the world are either blind or severely visually impaired. So we set out to develop a device, a very easy to use, intuitive device that involves very sophisticated AI technology that will empower these people who are in need of understanding the world around them. It's our second generation device, about the size of my finger, very lightweight. It weighs 0.8 ounces, which is 22.5 grams. In front here we have a camera. On the flip side, we have a small speaker for audio. This side over here is a touch-sensitive area where you can tap and swipe for different kinds of operation. And Orcam MyEye is a wearable device, and the most natural way we developed to wear Orcam MyEye is on almost any pair of eyeglasses or sunglasses. So on this pair of glasses right here, I have a magnetic mount. I have two little magnets on the device. I just snap it on, and I'm ready to start using it.
Reads any printed or digital text, newspapers, books, restaurant menus, signs, product labels, computer and smartphone screens all become accessible to you in an instant. Recognize faces, real-time.
So what you just heard and witnessed took us many years to create, to get to this point, but in a very seamless fashion. What happened is I pointed to the text, heard a beep, took my finger away, OrCam snapped a photo, and remembered where I placed my finger, and one line above there started reading the text, converting the text to audio in real time. And if I didn't use the stop gesture to stop it, OrCam would have gone down to the whole page over here.
Our device looks at a newspaper, and you can open a newspaper, and it sees thousands of letters, and they're tiny. And we have to very quickly go over the whole visual field, figure out where are the letters, and each letter, which letter is it, and combine them into words and sentences and paragraphs and start reading. And when I finish reading here, I have to jump to the next paragraph. There's also people with dyslexia, which is, again, hundreds of millions of people that they can figure it out roughly, but it becomes a jumble of details. And we worked very, very hard to create technology that enables a device, and a device that is the size of your finger, to do it in a split second. We see it from our customers again and again, the joy they have of, I can finally read, and not technically read as we used to think about it, I can finally understand what's going on. We have quite a few students here in Israel that use our device, and I think we accomplished 2 masters and 1 PhD that use this device to read lots of text and study and learn and be creative and fulfill their dream of getting higher education. A kid with low vision needs to look at a friend, at a peer, and know who they are. And so we added this functionality as well. So this device, if you look at a friend, it'll tell you their name. If it's a new person, you can teach in about 10 seconds it takes to teach a new person, and as soon as they come into sight, the device will tell them the name. We have a customer who tweeted, I've never met him, but he tweeted, ever since I got the MyEye, I started trying other types of food. And apparently he had only one type of frozen food in his freezer, and he would take it out. He knows, he puts it 5 minutes in the microwave, opens it, and he knows what to expect. But now that he can read, he can get something out of the freezer, figure it out, what it is, know how to prepare it, and prepare different types of food. And this is everyday quality of life for people that you can't get in any other way.
Coming up, it's the ultimate symbol of the theme of today's show, tragedy to triumph. Find out what it is after the break and get ready to be inspired.
America is at its best when it supports Israel. It is a value deeply ingrained in our national DNA, and it is one that I believe has brought us blessing and bounty from the Lord.
But there's a bond. We're tied to Israel and the Jewish people. They are the beacon of hope and democracy in what is a very bad neighborhood.
I would argue that if the Middle East had more free enterprise, pro-American democracies, if there were more countries like that in the Middle East, the world would be a lot safer than it is right now.
Israel's commitment lights the way for the rest of the Middle East, and indeed for the entire world.
And the why begins with the fact that Israel is the only pro-American, free enterprise democracy in the Middle East. That in and of itself is a reason to support them strongly.
The protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps, nor should we.
And welcome back. The theme of this week's show has been from tragedy to triumph, from the abyss of Auschwitz to the glory of Jerusalem. I can't think of a better way to symbolize that than an Auschwitz survivor leading a group of Christians in a stirring rendition of the Israeli national anthem, Hatikva, and doing it at Auschwitz, the very place where the Nazis attempted to eliminate the Jewish people forever. Folks, something very special unfolded when Auschwitz survivor Irving Roth led a delegation of our team from Christians United for Israel on a tour of Auschwitz. Take a look.
Let us together sing the national anthem, the hope, the Hatikva of the Jewish people.
I was there with Irving and the team at Auschwitz, and I can tell you that there was not a dry eye among us as we sang Hatikvah with this great man. As for Jerusalem, Psalm 126 says that when the Lord restored the captives of Zion, the people of Israel were like dreamers. Then our mouths were filled with laughter and our tongues with shouts of joy. Then it was proclaimed among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. Folks, you see the information there on your screen. Join our team at Christians United for Israel and become part of the great Bible story that God is writing in this city today. Well, thanks for joining us this week here in Jerusalem. Until next time, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace.